Good Wednesday morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Elevo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. I'm Joe Everett with today's farm news. Some quick calendar reminders. Powered by soy biodiesel, join us at the BG Tractor Pulls today, thanks to Nature's premium liquid fertilizers since 1946. Then visit the Great Darke County Fair August 15th through the 23rd in Greenville, Ohio. Find the full schedule of events at darkecountyfair.com. Well, the USDA is predicting a large 2025 corn crop. The USDA's World Agriculture Supply and Demand Estimates and Crop Production Report says that the 2025 through 26 U.S. corn outlook shows sharply higher supplies, larger domestic use and exports, plus larger ending stocks. Corn production is forecasted at 16.7 billion bushels, with a yield at 188.8 bushels per acre. With supplies rising more than usage, ending stocks are up by 457 million bushels to 2.1 billion. The season average corn price received by producers dropped 30 cents to $3.90 per bushel. The outlook for U.S. soybeans includes lower beginning stocks, production, and ending stocks. Soybean production is forecasted at 4.3 billion bushels, with yield predicted to be 53.6 bushels per acre. Well, the Trump administration announced it has eased federal requirements on diesel exhaust fluid systems. The administration announced new guidance that allows farmers and truckers to revise software to prevent sudden speed and power losses caused by diesel exhaust fluid systems, or DEF. Starting on model year 2027, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency guidance requires all new diesel on-road trucks to be engineered to avoid sudden and severe power loss after running out of DEF. To fix the problem for vehicles already in use, EPA's new guidance allows software changes to be made on existing fleet. In addition to providing certainty to manufacturers about how EPA wants this issue resolved, the agency is not requiring separate approvals beyond that provided in EPA's guidance, the agency said. Well, President Donald Trump signed an executive order yesterday extending a deadline for higher tariffs on Chinese imports until November. Officials from the United States and China first ended tariff tit-for-tat in May after duty rates on both sides reached triple digits. The latest deadline was set to expire today. The executive order sets the new deadline for higher duties on November 10th. The United States continues to have discussions with China to address the lack of trade reciprocity in our economic relationship and our resulting national and economic security concerns. The order reads, through these discussions, China continues to take significant steps towards remedying non-reciprocal trade agreements and addressing the concerns of the United States. Stay tuned. We'll be back with today's weather after this.
Did you know that soybeans are the secret sauce behind Ohio's booming poultry farms? Each year, poultry consume a whopping 937 million bushels of soybean meal nationwide. This high-protein powerhouse keeps chickens and turkeys thriving, making Ohio number 2 in egg production and number 9 in turkey farming. From farm to table, soybeans power the farms that feed families. Brought to you by Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
So many things that can have an impact on agriculture are out of the farmer's control. Yet when the weather doesn't cooperate, markets go lower, or equipment breaks down, the farmer blames themselves. Hi, I am Nathan Brown, a Highland County farmer and a member of the Ohio Farm Bureau Board of Trustees. If you or someone you know is struggling with stress on the farm, text 4HOPE to 741-741 or go visit gotyourbackohio.org. A message from the Ohio Farm Bureau Federation.
You're tuning in on the Ohio AgNet. Today's weather brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Scattered showers lingering over Ohio here through a large part of the day. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at your forecast update. We're not seeing action right away in all areas, but clouds are here, and pop-up showers are going to be with us all the way through the day. I think it's going to be divided into early morning, then we take a break through midday, and then we see a refiring this afternoon into this evening, but I guess I don't want to get too cute about it. What I can say is we end up with about 80% coverage of moisture through the day today, quarter to 3/4 of an inch. I don't think we see any big rains, just light stuff here, which means most of you will be telling me tomorrow, hey, I really could have used some more. If you can use some more, and when we get into tomorrow, sorry, I don't have anything for you. I think this moisture is pushing away off to the south and east. Clouds will be dissipating through your Thursday, and then we're looking at a fully sunny and a pleasant Friday, and the weekend is fully dry as well. Getting into next week, Monday, Tuesday, showers and thunderstorms running through, maybe a shot at strong to severe weather, especially Tuesday. By the time we get to Wednesday, moisture is done. The first half of the week, I think, can bring anywhere from 1/4 to 1.5 inches, with coverage at around 100% of the Buckeye State. Second half of next week, Thursday, Friday, drier, and then we set up for a much cooler batch of air to try and come in for the following week, the last full week of August. As we make that transition, likely we wring out some moisture in there for Monday the 25th, Tuesday the 26th, even Wednesday the 27th, kind of popcorn here and there, not a big coverage area. It's just going to be moisture that gets wrung out of an atmosphere as we see a big change from a warm to comfortable. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Well, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association notched a legal victory affirming protections for cattle farmers and ranchers from onerous and unnecessary air emissions reporting requirements. The NCBA and a coalition of farm groups have engaged in the litigation for years to ensure that family farmers and ranchers were not forced to file complex, overreaching reports with the federal government about emissions under the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act and the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act. Both were intended to address the worst industrial and toxic chemicals not govern family farms and ranches, said Caitlin Glover, Executive Director of the Public Lands Council. The decision affirms that family cattle producers shouldn't have to file reports for a natural biological process under a law meant for significant chemical contaminants. She also said the National Cattlemen's Beef Association and other groups stepped up to protect family farms and ranches through this litigation. Well, President Trump says ongoing trade talks with China could sharply boost its orders for U.S. soybeans. That was after Beijing failed to meet its commitments to buy U.S. farm goods during Trump's first term. Trump wrote on Truth Social that he hopes to hammer out a deal with China that will quickly quadruple its soybean orders. That was after extending talks another 90 days to November 10th. The president wrote, China is worried about its shortage of soybeans, and our farmers produce the most robust soybeans. But after the Phase 1 China agreement, U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer told lawmakers last month.
The Chinese did not comply with this agreement in large part. I've had a call with my counterpart. I've communicated to him our feeling on this, that they have not complied with the agreement. It's not surprising, but we are certainly disappointed by that.
They bought about $28 billion of the $36 billion promised in the first year of Phase 1, but today China has a 10% retaliatory tariff on U.S. soybeans. Top House Ag Democrat Amy Craig, echoing the American Soybean Association, asked at a recent hearing why the U.S. needed a trade war.
China represents 50% of the U.S. soybean market. Wouldn't it, I believe it would have been a better strategy to go get these markets before you do an across-the-board trade war that decimates 50% of the market.
But President Trump has now used tariffs to squeeze concessions out of the top trade partners like Japan, Australia, the EU, and the UK, and hopes to do the same with China. While running a farm, regardless of the commodity, can be very expensive. Starting a farm from scratch is even more expensive. To help, the USDA offers farm loans for beginning farmers and ranchers via the Farm Service Agency. Jason Quintana, a farm loan officer with the Farm Service Agency, says these loans are geared towards those who cannot obtain commercial credit from a bank. He noted while there's a lot of paperwork associated with these loans, the USDA simply wants to make sure all applicants are successful.
We're looking at your total operation, whereas sometimes you would look at some of these other structures of loans where they're looking more towards what you make versus what you have on debt and looking at different ratios. We like to use those ratios, but more of indicators of where you're at.
Quintana added that once the application is submitted, USDA takes a deep dive into cash flow.
Agriculture is one of the most volatile industries that I've seen, and it's easier when you plan for the worst case scenario, and that's what we try and do, is have these conservative numbers, go through budgets, and throughout this time we're building kind of a relationship going through so that there's that trust on both sides. So I feel like USDA, we really pride ourselves on making sure that we put the producers first and try and help out in every way. I mean, even if we do get to that point of a denial, it's not because of anything against them. It's just that's probably the best thing for the agency and for them.
All direct farm ownership applicants must have participated in the business operations of the farm for at least 3 of the last 10 years prior to the date the application is submitted to FSA. Guaranteed loans are made by lending institutions that arrange for the FSA to guarantee the loan. FSA can guarantee up to 95% of the loss of principal and interest on a loan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with the grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals, your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
Whether you're in the fields or on the farm, creating a safer work environment has never been easier. BWC's safety consulting services are included with your policy premiums and offer training and education for everyone in your farming operation. It's always the right time to make safety a priority. Visit bwc.ohio.gov or call 1-800-644-6292. The Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation, here to help you work safely.
It's now time for today's market analysis, which is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished mixed and wildly so on Tuesday. It was USDA report day. And you know what? USDA going to do USDA things. I guess that's the way we actually have to look at this. Let's talk about the good news first. The good news is that bean markets were up. We finished up anywhere from 20 to 22 cents on beans, and that's a nice little bump that nobody was expecting. There is a drop in production on soybeans versus what was expected. Last month in the WASDE, bean expectations were for a 4.335 billion bushel crop. This time came in at 4.292. Now, before you get all whacked out on that, it's not because of low yields. The yield last month on the WASDE report was at 52.5 bushel to the acre. This time it jumped 53.6. So we have still plenty of beans out there. This goes back to USDA going to do USDA things. Harvested acres had last month been projected at 82.5 million on the soybeans. This month, 80.1. Now, it's not because we lost 2 million acres that died. Nope. This is USDA going back and saying, hey, you know that planted acreage survey, that planted acreage report we did on June 30th? Yeah, that was wrong. We didn't put the right number there. You know, we're going to change it here now, but we're not going to tell you we changed planted acres. We're just going to shift harvested acres, all right? So you already know where I'm going with this. If they did that on beans, what did they do on corn? Well, first things first, 188.8 bushel to the acre. That's a big yield. Last month it was 181. Talk was that it was going to be a big one, but that was above the highest trade guess per bushel acre. And then USDA decided, hey, you know what? That 86.7 million acre harvested number that we had last month, yeah, we're going to jump that to 88.7. That's right, 2 million more acres of corn miraculously going to be harvested that weren't planted. No. This is the way USDA does things. They go back and they say the number that they just put out 7 weeks ago. Oops, that was wrong. You buffoons. Hey, it made the corn market drop hard. Beans are up. We'll talk more in a bit. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now looking at your overnight trade brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. September corn, $372.5, up a penny. December new crop corn, $395.25, up 3/4. August soybeans, $1013.5, up 1 3/4. November soybeans, $1039, up 6 1/4. And September wheat, $5.04, down a penny. In livestock from yesterday's close, August live cattle $235.82, up $2.75. October live cattle $229.02, up $2.92. August lean hogs $109.55, down 12 cents. September feeder cattle $346.25, up $5.65. And October feeder cattle $345.15, up $5.47. Thanks for joining us and have a great day, everyone. You're listening to the Ohio AgNet.